Two of the National League's best go head-to-head in Busch Stadium when the Dodgers face the Cardinals.
Seager will touch them all.
Saturday at 6 Eastern and Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Presented by Harley-Davidson.
Coming up on the First Take podcast, Kobe Bryant writes a letter to his 17-year-old self. We'll share that with you and react. The NFL still isn't making the grade in the latest minority report. We will dive into that. And Odell Beckham throwing shade at Josh Norman, the gift that keeps giving. The First Take podcast starts right now in the new era of First Take with Max Kellerman. It's 4 days away. It kicks off this Monday.
That's true. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, you got me.
Everybody, welcome into First Take. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm Molly Cameron. I am so excited for today because it is all ladies, the first time ever, a full panel of females. And we have a lot of serious issues we're going to dive into. I'm very excited for that. We have Marley Rivera, writer and reporter for ESPN and ESPN Deportes, Claudia Trejos, reporter, analyst, and commentator for ESPN Deportes and International, and Anita Marks, who has been here before. Welcome back again on ESPN Radio 98.7 in New York. Ladies, thank you so much for traveling in to be here and doing the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. We're going to have a lot of fun, right?
Oh, a ton of course.
Okay, but first we're going to discuss something pretty serious. So we start in 2003. The NFL adopted the Rooney Rule, which is a policy that requires teams to interview minority candidates for head coaching positions in hopes of hiring a larger percentage of minority coaches into the league. So according to Mike Sando of ESPN.com, things haven't improved 13 years later. Please listen to these numbers. 80 of NFL's current 85 offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, and offensive quality control coaches are white, including all 37 with the word quarterback in their job descriptions. The NFL isn't the only league that is struggling with this issue. Of the 30 managers in MLB, only 2 are minorities. 9 of the 30 NBA head coaches are minorities. Claudia, I want to start with you. What is going on with the lack of minority hirings?
Well, we got to start with the fact that nobody has given anybody an opportunity. And remember, the head coaches usually bring in their own coordinators, their own assistants, and those are the ones that eventually will take over that position. So if you're not opening that door for that lower tier of coaches, if we can actually call them lower tier, then obviously we're going to have a serious deficiency on top. Case in point, today, you just gave us the numbers. Let's look down. We're not being represented. Further down, not even being represented. Let's not even go into the college area. That college area is even more deficiency, even though the players do represent the diversity that is America. It's not trickling up. And unless we open the door and give all these guys the opportunity to start somewhere, start at the bottom, they will not come up as head coaches. It just doesn't happen. Rule says usually the quarterback, those coaches are the ones that come up as managers, you know, even first baseman coaches. Those are the ones that will take the hitting coaches. Those are the ones that will take over the managing position, also head coaches in the NFL. And let's not even talking about NBA. So if we're not giving the bottom part the opportunity, it's not going to come up.
I think it's... And I'm sorry for pausing because I think it's just staggering. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're looking at it, and Chloe, we had the discussion before even getting on the air, you look at the numbers for Hispanic players, and if we extrapolate it to MLB, 29%, let's just call it a third, you know, are all born in Latin American countries, and there are zero managers. In the last, we were just looking some notes from ESPN Stats and Info, and since 2010, the hiring, they've hired, I believe it's 45 managers. Only 5 of those have been Hispanic, and currently there isn't even one of them. So how can we explain that? Are we saying, like Claudia, it's almost like there's this glass ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're good enough to coach, but you're not good enough to be up here. You're not good enough to be the boss, and that for me, it just offends my sensibility. And also, there's something lost here, and it's the same thing that happens in the NFL, right? Like the Rooney Rule is supposed to be helping the way the Selig Rule is supposed to be helping also in MLB. We're talking about these people can relate better. It doesn't mean that a white coach cannot coach an African-American player. This has nothing to do with that. But there are certain sensibilities. There's a language or situation. Culture. Yeah. I mean, it's really, it benefits everybody.
This is what the problem is. The coaching system, believe it or not, is a bloodline, right? I think the problem is that we're looking at the top as opposed to looking at the bottom. I think we need to start at the bottom, the Rooney Rule at the bottom in regard to coordinators. Because who are getting the head coaching positions? Coordinators, okay, and also quarterback coaches, because this day and age in the NFL, it's all about the quarterback these days. It's all about the passing game. It's putting up those big points. So those are the coaches that you're seeing get the promotions and get the head coaching positions. For example, let's take Hugh Jackson, okay, who was just hired by the Cleveland Browns. He was fired, as we know, in Oakland, okay, went back to Cincinnati. Him and Marv Lewis, extremely tight, was a DB coach, a running back coach, then became the offensive coordinator, and now has an opportunity in Cleveland. Guess what? Both his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator, African American. This is what needs to change. And so I believe in the Rooney Rule. I just think it starts in the wrong place. I think it should start in the coordinating positions as opposed to the head coaching positions, because that's where these guys are going. That's where the African American coaches are going to get the elevation to become head coaches.
And they will hone those talents to become coaches. But now I have a huger issue, if there's such a thing.
Yes.
Once they do make it, they are held at a completely different standard. I mean, case in point, we look at the Giants, we look at the Jets, losing seasons. They stayed, the head coaches stayed there forever. We have somebody like Lovey, who's given 2 years. Why? Why does that happen?
That is super interesting, because Freddie Gonzalez's point, to bring it back to MLB, and what's interesting about your point before is that may work in the NFL. It will not work at MLB, because at MLB there are so many minor league coaches. And like the equivalent of a coordinator, the equivalent of an offensive. I mean, right now, just looking at a minor list, there's over 10 Latino coaches that have either first base positions, you know, bench coaches. So that happens. So it's different, right? Like for both leagues. But what Claudia said is just so interesting, because you don't get a chance to stay. You have to be better than anyone else. And that was Freddie Gonzalez's point when he was, Freddie Gonzalez deserved to be fired. That's the point. You know, you have a terrible record, you deserve to be fired. But he always felt that he had to perform better than anyone else.
Yeah, the Giants do have a new coach now. Yeah. And the Jets have a minority head coach in Todd Bowles. But to that point, do you feel like there is a shorter leash for minority head coaches rather than white head coaches, Anita, from what you've seen in covering the NFL?
I don't know. I don't know so much. I mean, listen, again, I'll go back to Hugh Jackson, because he was really the one that's front and center coming into this NFL season. The Cleveland Browns are a hot mess. Let's face it. I mean, let's call it how it is. I think he's going to be given a good 3 to 5 years to turn that organization around. So I think it depends on the organization. I think it depends on the ownership. I think it depends on the fan base, what the expectation is. New York City, that's a city that doesn't accept rebuilding.
Right. But Rex Ryan was there forever.
Cleveland, well, not forever.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
No, but
compared to others,
I think Cleveland is a city that can accept a rebuilding time. I don't think New York can.
Will they do it the way that they allowed Rivera to fail and then eventually succeed? Because we saw it with Ron Rivera. Will he have the chance in Cleveland?
I think the Haslam family, I think they're going to give Hugh Jackson time to kind of change that organization around. And I just want to share, in regards to the bloodline and what I'm talking about, Bill Walsh went out and hired very influential black assistants. Ray Rhodes, Dennis Green, they had their chance at head coaching positions. Mike Tomlin, Raheem Morris. These are coaches that are from that Bill Walsh bloodline, okay? Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells, unfortunately, not so much. And we are in an era right now where we're seeing the branches of those trees now get their opportunity. And here's an ESPN stat. 14 members of Bill Parcells' coaching tree were hired as head coaches from 91 to 2013. Only Romeo Crennel was the only African American out of that. So again, I mean, just more support in regard to how the Rooney Rule obviously isn't working. How can you get? I believe in the Rooney Rule, but how do you get it to work? Again, I think you need to implement it at the offensive coordinating positions, as opposed to or as well as the head coaching position.
So the awareness should be brought to a head coach or the front office. Who should be responsible of making the Rooney Rule actually be implemented properly?
See, now we get it. Now we get into the NFL. But now here we get into a whole other animal. Okay, when you're a head coach, you fight to hire your own staff.
Yeah, everybody does.
Because
and that's the coaching.
You're constantly looking over your back, right? You just because hey, look, we all want to succeed. We all want that opportunity. If you're a coordinator, chances are you want to be a head coach. So if you're a head coach, you want to bring somebody in that you trust, right? So now it kind of gets into a whole other element, and that is head coaches that are open and willing to bring in and truly give African Americans an opportunity to be coordinators, and guys that they could trust and want to be as part of their team, because they're fighting to make those decisions. Big reason why Tom Coughlin, by the way, did not go to Philadelphia, did not have all say in regard to his staff that he would have been able to bring over to the Philadelphia Eagles and be the head coach. That's why Tom Coughlin's not coaching this year. So coaches fight for that. But if the coaching society wants to make it better, they have to realize that this is what they need to do.
But it doesn't work. The Rooney Rule doesn't work. The silly rule doesn't work at MLB. I mean, it's amazing. Just think about this. I mean, we can mention Big Papi's tour right now, right? Like, we're so excited.
Yeah.
You know, this is just all this. We're talking about there isn't a single Hispanic manager in Major League Baseball. I mean, so then the Selick rule doesn't work. I mean, the joke is, and Alex Cora, who obviously is an employee of ESPN, you know, he told me the story where he went to get interviewed, and they didn't even know he went to Vanderbilt. They didn't even go through his resume. So then I understand that, and we've talked to Doug Glanville about this, and everyone says it. There has to be a rule because it opens the door. But then once you open the door, if you're there to just do a check mark, what's the point? And not only that, a lot of people are not getting even the opportunities. I was talking to Bruce Bochy last night. We had Wednesday Night Baseball, and I said, why haven't your guys, your staff, we have Bam Bam. I mean, these are people who are super talented, you know, and knowledgeable, and Roberto Kelly, and they don't even get the interview. So they also need, which is, you mentioned something so specific, which was, they need to be recommended. They need to be part of the crew, right? Like people I know, if I know Molly, I'm going to recommend her because I know how good she is at her job. If I know Anita, if I know Claudia, that's not happening. And then we tend to hang out with the same people.
So why isn't it somebody like, for example, Ozzie Guillen? Why wasn't he given the opportunity to bring his own staff, and that same staff be honed into those positions?
Well, because it's what you said, you know, the expectations are different, and you know, they're in Major League Baseball. I don't know how it works, you know, as clearly in the NFL, but they manage from the top down. You know, there's it's a different style of management right now, especially with sabermetrics and so on. So these old school managers are not allowed to stay maybe as often.
You just said something very interesting, because regardless sports, it's still the old boys club, and one of the things that I'd like to bring up, it is. And I'd like to bring up the NBA. Eric Spoelstra is a perfect example. Pat Riley took him out of tape, literally, and he's the guy he trusts.
But that's an interesting, because he's like his son.
Yeah,
Mama, he's like his son.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, Eddie Perez at the Atlanta Braves, hopefully it will happen because he's like Bobby Cox's son. So maybe when this happens next year, maybe it's the Braves.
I have a question for you. Obviously, you're in a lot of locker rooms and speaking to a lot of these baseball players. Have you discussed this subject with any of them?
Absolutely. But you know what? They're just so careful. You know, because they don't want to say, and the one thing that people don't want to wave, and I will be very, very, very clear with this, it is not a discrimination or racism flag. This is very important. Everyone says, including all these players, you know, Sandy Alomar, who's been a candidate many times, Maniacta, who's gotten, you know, hired and fired several times, and many others, they say it. We do not believe there's racism or discrimination. We just don't believe we don't get the same amount of opportunities. Now, it's a complicated answer. So it's a very complicated answer. If I knew the answer to that, I probably would make a lot of money.
I have asked a number of African American coaches who have been a part of the Rooney Rule, who have gone to be interviewed at certain NFL teams, you know, well, if you know that you don't have a chance, why are you going?
Why you go?
Why are you going?
So what do they say?
And their response is the experience, because I mean, you walk in for an interview, you need to come in, whether you're offensive or defensive coordinator, you need to lay out exactly what your game plan is.
And you got to sell yourself.
You have to sell yourself. Who are the coaches you're going to hire? What's going to be the mentality and the atmosphere that you're going to create? I mean, it is an experience to go in and interview with a team. It's the experience, and also it's kind of like, well, you know, if I do this, then maybe next year I'll be.
But you're saying some guys know they're being just brought in part of the Rooney Rule, and they're not getting the job.
Absolutely, and they are participating anyway because it's a great experience, and also, you know, down the line, well, I did it this time. Maybe next year or 2 years from now, I'll seriously be considered.
The other side of the coin of that is what happened to Sandy Alomar, that he had so many interviews, never got an opportunity, and you get discouraged. So it's the opposite, you know. So it's very interesting.
And then it looks bad.
You get tired.
But also, here's the thing: if you're the person that's constantly getting brought in, you know you're not getting the job, but just filling the quota or the check mark, then it looks bad on your resume. Well, he's been brought in for 5 different positions, hasn't gotten them. So that also reflects poorly on the candidate.
And it breaks your spirit. There has to be a point where you see that you believe you can contribute, that you have to be, it has nothing to do with the color of your skin, it has to do with your ability, right? You believe you can do this job and do it well, and you still don't get the chance, even though you did what you said. You put in the time, you did the minors, you did the coordinating job. Joey Cora can't get a job. He's working in single A because he can't get a job in the majors.
And he's extremely capable. He's done a great job in the amateur. He's fantastic. And with that being said, because you have done the time, you cannot be discouraged. I mean, we're four ladies doing a very interesting job, male-dominated environment, and we've all had moments where we go, really? But guess what? That's part of reality.
That's true.
That's part of life. And if you have done the time, if you've done the homework, guess what? You're going to have to keep knocking on doors.
Right.
Because there's going to be one day, I assure you, that somebody like Pat Riley is going to adopt you.
Which is
Somebody's
the line.
Gonna be,
yeah.
That's
the line. And Maniac
exactly.
said, I go every time they ask me because one day I will be the best one and they can't say no. And I get that point. But I also get the fact that there are families involved. There's a spirit. There's an ego. A lot of these are former athletes. And there is a point when you say, why not me?
Let's leave it there. I appreciate you guys having the conversation, and there obviously some progress from the female perspective. We're all doing the show together. This wouldn't have happened a few years ago, and we're going to delve more into this issue and something I want to get your thoughts on involving the Hispanic community and the comments from Lou Holtz a little bit later. So we'll discuss that, and can't wait to hear your perspective there. But right now I want to get to Kobe Bryant. He retired after a 20-year career and 5 NBA titles, and he wrote a letter, very interesting, to his younger self. If you didn't see this, he posted it in the Players Tribune. Here's a part of what he wrote. Quote, when your Laker dream comes true, you need to figure out a way to invest in the future of your family and friends. This sounds simple, and you may think it's a no-brainer, but take some time to think on it further. Purely giving material things to your siblings and friends may appear to be the right decision. You love them. They were always there for you growing up, so it's only right that they should share in your success, and that all comes with it. So you buy them a car, a big house, pay all their bills. You want them to live a beautiful, comfortable life, right? But the day will come when you realize that as much as you believed you were doing the right thing, you were actually holding them back. Anita, do you like, love, or hate that Kobe did this?
I like it. I like it a lot, and kudos to the Players Tribune, by the way. I mean, we're getting some really great material.
We are honest, authentic pieces
From the Players Tribune, but I like it. I will say this, though. I like that he used the word invest instead of give. I think there are a number of athletes, I've covered them, I'm sure you ladies have covered them as well, that immediately, as soon as they get their pro job, as soon as they get that big payday, just family and friends come out of the woodwork, and everybody wants that money. They want that cheese. They want those Benjamins, right?
Yep.
And I think it's hard. I think it's difficult sometimes for professional athletes to say no. And obviously it was for Kobe Bryant, and now he's sharing his experience, so those that are now coming into the NBA that are going to experience the same thing he did, kind of give them a little advice. Invest, don't give. I like it a lot. My only thing is, I think it's a lot harder to do than say. I think that's very, very difficult for athletes to do that, especially if you've got friends that you've been friends with for a very long time, family members that are struggling. I think it's very difficult to say no to family. It's very difficult for me to say no to family all the time. So I think it's a lot more difficult to do.
I still think that he's very brave. I can't say I like it or love it or hate it. I just have to say it hurts.
Well, you have to give us one. This is the game, Mama. Come on.
I have to say I like it, but
Okay.
it hurts. It hurts in
Why?
so many ways. It had to take a lot of courage to sit, and he had to dig really deep and find out exactly how he felt about everything that he had given. And mind you, we're raised to give without expecting anything in return. We're expected to give as far as we can. We're expected to give and probably never stop giving. And he one time decided, I'm not going to give anymore. This is as far as I'm going to go. That had to be tough. And in order to put that in writing and make it public, and we all know what happened with his parents, you know, it was public. That's not easy. It's not easy to be living in a fishbowl, your private life being exposed all the time, and not only that, understanding that he came to a point where he said, enough is enough, I've made a mistake, and I applaud him because that courage of putting everything in writing is going to help those kids. How many rookies, like you said, find themselves even broke by the time they're done?
Yes.
In the first year, they have no money. It's gone. Why? Because they don't know when to say, this is as far as I
And
go.
a lot of hanger-ons.
Yes. So, congratulations, but it pains me. I feel his pain. I can see the words saying, dude, this was tough, and I understand that it's going to be tough, but you got to do it for you, and you got to do it for them. As an older child with younger siblings, I understand that, and it's never easy. I totally echo that sentiment, but it also takes a courage and one of those aha moments to say, I'm not doing you any favors.
I'm going to be the dissonant voice here, and I know it's coming. Love the message, hate the letter. With all due respect
Really?
to the Players Tribune, why, and very specific why. For me, this is not the way. Financial trouble is something that people who come from inner cities and who come from everywhere go through. It isn't exclusive to very wealthy athletes. Ryan Howard went through the same thing. Many other players have gone through the same thing. And I think that the means to really address this is maybe, and I'll make it personal. You know, I come from a country that is broke. I'm Puerto Rican. We all know what's going on with the Puerto Rican government. Thank you very much. Love it.
La Isla is love it. I was just there over Christmas. Love it.
But I grew up in a country that they didn't teach you financial responsibility or fiscal responsibility.
But who does,
no,
really?
No, but the point is that you need to learn this. In the United States, they actually do. You know what? I know these kids right now who are in high school, you know, maybe it's generational, who are taking financial classes of financial responsibility. So the point is that that's the way that maybe Kobe should have done it. The way that, you know what, let's invest in a program in their cities to teach people how to manage their money better, because it isn't a problem of millionaires.
Yeah, but is that going to get the message to the players?
But I don't think I actually don't think the letter in the Players Tribune is going to do it. I actually don't.
See, I disagree with you. I think players love the Players Tribune. I think they read it probably more than anything else.
I respect that. I think that it can be a little disingenuous to speak that way. That's just my opinion.
Here's my thing I'm taking away from this, what you guys are going back and forth, is you're saying that Kobe speaking to other athletes, and obviously, as you brought up, regardless of how many millions of dollars, a lot of athletes end up losing a lot of their money. And this goes back to that old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day.
Exactly.
Feed a fish, investing in his future. But I think what you're saying here, which is you're bringing up an interesting point, is that there's such a bigger issue.
Yes.
And that you'd rather it trickle down more into the communities rather than just speaking to athletes. But speaking to athletes specifically, I love that he did this, because I think this is a way that he can share with all the young athletes out there. And one of the things he spoke about in the ESPYs is how he wants to inspire this younger generation of athletes. And basically, he's probably looking at, you know, in a way, I did a disservice to my family members. It's one thing if I'm investing in their education or certain things to set them up where they can then have their own careers and take care of themselves, but just giving handouts doesn't necessarily do anything. But I think it's really interesting, your point, in terms of creating the programs and certain things and taking that a step further. But to reach athletes specifically, and him just working on inspiring that, I think he does that with this letter.
Side note as well, I kind of dig what LeBron James did. I mean, look, he took an entourage and he put them to work. Maverick and all those dudes, right?
Finally,
I mean,
Oscar de la Hoya did exactly the same thing.
It was all his guys.
It's all his guys.
It's what Adam Sandler did in the movies, right? He hired all his friends.
No, but it really is. That's the point. It is really impressive to think that he did this, and look how successful these guys are.
Very.
In terms of running an agency.
I think it's wonderful that you encourage, and I, like I said, love the message.
Yeah.
I just don't think that a letter on the Players Tribune is the way. And now, I have all due respect for the Players Tribune. I mean, it did bother me in the beginning because I was a Yankees beat writer for 5 years, and when someone tells me I was never asked a good question, it bothers me. You know, which is the premise
that
of the
came
Players
out
Tribune.
in the Players Tribune.
No, it's just, you know, it's one of the lines of when Jeter, you know, took this on. But I do think it's a great way of the audience connecting directly with the athlete. Yeah, I think it's wonderful, but I just don't think this is going to solve anything.
No,
that's my point. It won't solve it.
I really think that somebody like Kobe Bryant has serious influence. So all these new kids that are coming, but
a letter, Claudia.
Yeah, but it's better than
But
nothing.
it's a message.
How many more players?
There's so many other things he could have done instead of just a letter.
But you know what? If my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bicycle, and that's not going to happen either. We've got to start somewhere. The truth is, how many players?
But why not start in something that is way more meaningful? Like, you know what? Talk to those athletes. Talk to the new recruiting class. But
I think it's where do you necessarily reach them? And everybody's following him, and he's such an icon in the sport. So some of these young rookies coming up, everyone loves Kobe. It's Kobe. Like, you know, Kobe's another level.
I love Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe speaks, we all listen. So I think, and he has been so successful beyond the NBA as well. And I think they're going to look at this and say, you know what? All right, now when I sit down with my financial planner, how am I going to invest in my money? What am I do I buy a house? Do I do this? Okay, so maybe I get everybody educated and maybe and look at it differently. I think it's going to make everyone think.
The problem that I have with this is that I feel, and this is just my opinion, respectfully, that when they read this, the people who have these problems, which are not exclusive, Anita mentioned her own personal experience. Claudia did. I did too, right? When you come from an immigrant family and you have success, you have the same problems. The problem is that I see people reading this who admire and love Kobe, including myself, and I look at it and I go, millionaire problems. That's what I said to myself.
Hashtag
millionaire problems.
champagne problem.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
champagne problems.
that's what it is for me.
I will say this, though, in regard, because I know we've kind of incorporated the Players Tribune in this. In talking to athletes, it's hard for them to trust us.
Of course.
I mean,
we're the enemy.
I mean,
We're walking inside a locker room.
People are just looking for a story.
And we're going to dish it.
I feel that my success has been really heavily because of the trust that I have gotten in and around the NFL with players, and they do come to me and they do talk to me on and off the record, and
that's how it happens with Major League Baseball. Absolutely.
So it's really hard to get an athlete to trust a media person. And what they like about the Players Tribune, and because Derek Jeter is so well respected and his name is on it, is that it's a safe place for them.
But the problem that I had was attacking the media.
And have a voice.
The problem that I have with it is that you were attacking baseball writers who are very hardworking, who did their job, who didn't, so don't say that we didn't do a job well. Maybe you didn't enjoy your relationship with the media. Or maybe it's not the right way for you. There was no filter, right? Their point is there's no filter. But there is a balance. You can actually have that platform and at the same time not attack the media. It could be a balance.
Okay. But going back to the Kobe letter, I honestly think that his idea was, okay, I have this opportunity. If I were to be talking to myself at 17, I would pretty much never write that because, God forbid, my mom will find out. But really, so I applaud that, and the fact that he did take that risk, and the fact that he did put it in writing, it's going to be
risk.
It's
Well, in terms of hurting his family, though.
No,
You're going to hurt. There's people that he's speaking to, right?
And
he gave that money to.
Yes, he did, and he's exposing himself. I don't care how you slice it. Nobody likes. None of us here like to put our lives on the line.
Put yourself out there, and he's very private.
Yes.
Keep in mind, Kobe's career has been somewhat of a roller coaster ride.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's
personal and
professional, and professionally, especially when he first came into the league, and just could not gel with that team. But he said that there's more to come, and I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to more insight from Kobe Bryant on the Players Tribune. I really am, and
I have to say that I expected better from him because he is so well respected, because he is such a voice. Granted that it's a drop in the bucket. That's what I think about it, and I just think that Kobe Bryant, with his social responsibility and how committed he has been, not only helping to the inner city in Philadelphia, but in many other places, including in LA, he could have done better. That's what I think he could have done better.
Well, hopefully he's watching, and hopefully
he might
take
take
your message.
And now, with that being said,
Kobe, tú puedes.
Por tu postura callida. Yes. But the truth is, let's go back. Who is more influential than Michael Jordan? I don't see him doing that.
Well, maybe he doesn't agree with it. I mean, I don't know.
I can't speak to his philanthropy work. I'm honestly unaware of it. I don't know.
But I have never heard of him speaking, writing things down, and saying, for all you guys coming into the NBA, these are my words of advice. And God knows, he knows about success. And he knows he's gone through tragedy, very publicly. He's gone through another roller coaster. I mean, NBA-wise, it does not get any better. But personally, he had to deal with a whole lot.
But sometimes it's hard for an athlete to embrace that role.
Exactly.
You've seen it in the NFL so many times, right? Like these great people that people look up to. Maybe they don't embrace that role as a leader, as an advice giver as well.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times, you're in a locker room, and again, since I've covered the Giants now for 7 years, someone meets me, what do you do? I'm part of the Giants broadcast team. Oh, what's the deal with Eli Manning? Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What is the deal? He's he's like Tom Coughlin said at his exit interview, his exit press conference, when he resigned, from the Giants. Like, Eli, this isn't your fault. Like, you're the guy that every man would want as a son. Eli Manning is a phenomenal human being, but he just, he doesn't have that. He's not a cheerleader. Right? He's not in the locker room.
He doesn't have the personality.
He doesn't have that personality.
He has the work ethic, but he doesn't have the personality.
Doesn't make it wrong. He's just different. Yeah.
From the other side, if you look at David Ortiz, if you look at Carlos Beltran, who embraced that role, who believe, every time that you go to an opposing team clubhouse, sometimes just right outside, you'll see Beltran talking to the rookies from the other team. Yep. You'll see David Ortiz doing it. There's a lot of players, and I don't want to just single out them too. There's a lot of veterans at MLB that embrace it, but there's other that don't, that it was uncomfortable for them. There's superstars that don't. So I think that's kind of interesting how
everybody's different, everybody's personality, and
Yeah.
at least it's a step in saying he's looking out for these young rookies, and hopefully they can learn from his mistakes, paying it forward. He said on the ESPYs that his next step is he wants to inspire the next generation of athletes, and I think you brought up a good point, potentially of taking it a step further into the communities, not just the athletes.
So it's millennials. It's going to be a tall task.
Ooh, I'm one of them, barely. I get it. Barely. I'm hanging on.
My Twitter feed.
Meanwhile, speaking at a luncheon the Republican National Coalition of Life hosted during the RNC, former Notre Dame head coach and former ESPN analyst Lou Holtz said the high number of immigrants coming to the United States constituted as an invasion, and that immigrants need to learn and speak English and become us. Let me continue this quote here. I don't want to become you. I don't want to speak your language. I don't want to celebrate your holidays. I sure as hell don't want to cheer for your soccer team. So when I read this, two things here. Not only the message, the content here, but also the tone, which I found very derogatory. But Marley, I want to start with you. What's your reaction? Obviously, you're from Puerto Rico.
For the record, I don't have a soccer team. I just want to let
everyone know,
we are actually baseball fans and football fans, and I'm going to...
An NBA
I think
fan?
my stand on... I
You
think...
do have a soccer team.
Well, you're right. Let me just respect that, yeah. But, and apparently I'm going to be not a Notre Dame football fan anymore. And we're just going to put that there. But I want to relate to you guys just a small story, just a little side. I was at the airport the other day on our many travels, and there was a lady, a Hispanic lady who didn't speak English, who was in a wheelchair, and she was trying to communicate with the flight attendant. They were trying to load her in. She was by herself, and I saw she was struggling communicating. She was trying, so I went over and I translated, and of course there was a voice from a corner who said, "Speak English. This is America." And I turned around and I said, you know what? I didn't look. I didn't look closely, but it could have been Lou. And I just found it so offensive, and I knew that the next line would be "Go back to where you came from." And this is kind of what I heard, you know, when Lou said this. And Lou would be mortified with this table because there is a Trejos, a Marx, a Kerem, and a Rivera. So I think that there comes a point where you have to realize that globalization is real. We can't deny it anymore. It isn't, you know, it's the point, and I know I'm going to get in trouble with this, but it's like the climate change, right? Like it's something that exists. We have to talk about it, and this is just what society is. He doesn't live in this world.
And Marley, you were trying to help someone.
I was trying to help someone.
Trying to help
and I was
translate
speaking, and I speak
communicate.
4 languages, so apparently I just happen to use Spanish at this point, but it comes to a point where it's really amazing. Now, there's one thing that I agree with. Do work on your English. Absolutely. I think that if you come to a country, just the way that players who are American should work on their Spanish when they go to Venezuela to play, when they go to the Dominican Republic to play. So absolutely, right? Work on communicating because that is the language spoken there, but there's a lot more on that statement.
Last time I checked, this country was built by immigrants. Okay, my family came over from Russia, Ellis Island. And from what I understand in reading, Lou Holtz's family, they came from the Ukraine. So I'm with you. I get learning English, but we are at a time right now in society. It is such a sensitive time, and we need to come together as a community. And for him to come out with these comments are really just, to me, are just very, very sad. I think it's just very, very sad. And another thing, like, I'm from Miami. I know you go back and forth, Miami, Los Angeles. You're Colombian. You're Puerto Rican. I feel what makes Miami so fantastic and how I was raised is the diversity, okay? Is the Calle Ocho, going to Calle Ocho, La Carrera, going there for a cortadito. You know, that's what makes...
Don't forget the croquetas.
And the croquetas.
Yes.
There is something about this country being a melting pot. There is something about...
We're all immigrants.
Yeah, we are.
One way or another, we are.
But that's what makes it so exciting.
Not to him.
And that's what's sad. And I think he needs, and granted, I know he's a little older. But I think, and which surprises me because he knows history probably better than the 4 of us here at this table. But understand how this country was built. Understand where we are right now in society, and embrace it. Embrace the diversity.
You know what? I actually feel sorry for the man. And I'm going to qualify this statement. I was a little girl, well, not that little, when I first came to this country. I was born and raised in Colombia. I do speak English since I was 4 years old. I did live in Switzerland. It's as small as Rhode Island, and they have 4 official languages. I too speak 4 languages. And this man obviously, when I was a little girl, he was already a very well-known college
Football coach. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's start with that. Now I'm in my 40-something, and he's like 150 years old. The way I put him, I put him in this cubbyhole next to that one person that's still using the flip phone, that refuses to use the internet, that refuses to use the computer. He's just not up to par with society.
I don't know that I agree with that because, you know, obviously my parents don't know how to use it. I think my dad still has a flip phone. Let's be very clear. But, you know, so I don't
My
know
dad can't text.
there we go. So I don't know that being
But they
technologically
try,
inclined, but I get your point. All you're saying is like, this is an old school mentality. But you know what? It is 2016. It is like it's time for you to.
You know what's
16% of the population is Hispanic.
This sentence to me was crucial. I do not want to celebrate your holidays. Well, guess what?
Which, by the way, the first thing I thought of, I love Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
I will fight
who has not had
Mexican cerveza.
And I've had.
But Cinco de Mayo is an American holiday. Let's be very clear.
Yeah, it's not even
Mexicans
Mexican.
don't celebrate it. So
But
it's just-
okay, but
you know what's my holiday?
St. Patrick's.
One other thing,
St.
we are still
Yeah.
St.
But
Patrick's
my holiday, you know what my holiday is? I grew up in a Catholic family. It's Christmas. You may not want to celebrate it either.
Or Three
Because
Kings
that's what I celebrate.
And then
Christmas.
my heritage is Jewish. So what? Am I not going to celebrate my high holidays?
You're not.
And I'm
No
Hispanic.
Hanukkah for you.
No,
you're
Nada.
done.
I
Rosh
get-
Hashanah, everything out the door. Really?
I get that it's an American holiday, but we are still celebrating the Mexican culture on that day.
No, I understand
That's
that.
what
I have a lot of issues with Cinco de Mayo,
It's a little-
so I think that's like a little expensive because Cinco de Mayo doesn't celebrate anything
But
about
we
Mexican
still celebrate
culture
a
except Mexican
heritage.
drinks. That is my opinion,
that's-
which is
that was
fine.
my-
and it's like,
yeah,
go
that was
ahead
my
and celebrate
That's
it.
what I do.
But it isn't
No, but it's
Mexican
a
Independence
deeper-
Day. It isn't, you know, it isn't a real holiday like
But I don't think he even
Independencia.
understands the difference.
Absolutely.
Based on his comment, I don't think he even understands the difference. And that's why there's a part of me that says, really, you know, just reset. Reset.
I researched some stuff. I just want to
Yeah.
share really quick,
Please.
okay? And folks watching might not be aware of this. The American song "God Bless America" was written by a Jewish immigrant. How about that? The White House, designed by an architect from Ireland back in 1785. How about this? American football, guess what? As much as we love it, originated from the English game of rugby. Hello. And last but not least, the American hot dog came a product of Germany.
Bratwurst.
Charles Feltman opened up his first Coney Island hot dog stand in 1871.
God bless him.
So this is my point. Immigrants help make, and these are all American.
We're all immigrants.
Absolutely.
We're a melting pot.
Exactly. So
And
if
it
it wasn't
enriches
for these
language, it
immigrants,
enriches
But
culture,
it is.
it enriches
Where would we be
food.
today?
I
The
mean,
sad
it's just,
part is that with that stance, he is holding himself back from enjoying what we're all about. I mean, there's not one day that I come in and I'm listening to Celia Cruz and everybody goes, Bruce Bowen, for God's sakes, he's a diehard Celia Cruz fan.
There you go.
And salsa, merengue, and let's not even, I mean, who hasn't done
Well, the
polka
worst
dance,
part is the whole,
right?
you know what,
Hello?
also the part about rooting for your soccer team.
Yeah, well,
lumping every single culture as they owe soccer fans.
That's
Maybe
right.
I should inform them that Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and, you know, Venezuelans are different because we do not, you know, we didn't grow up with soccer cultures. We do not. So the fact that you group us all together is just another demonstration of not only sadness, but just the sorry state. I love your word.
It's also
so sorry.
ignorance. And one
Ridiculous.
other thing that when I initially saw this, so here's the message, and if he wants to say, okay, come to America, learn English, whatever, that's his point. But how about this tone? It's so derogatory.
He's just
And
an
I feel-
angry old man.
But this is someone who's wrote a lot of motivational books and is a Christian, and I'm just wondering why are you speaking in this tone?
These are supposed to be Christian values.
why
right?
are
Isn't
you-
Christian values about loving
Why are
the
you
person next
speaking
to you?
down to people and saying, I don't want to become you, I don't want to speak your language, I sure as hell don't want to cheer for you. You don't need to say it that way.
Or celebrate your holidays. And
Like, what holidays is it referring to? I'm really wondering. What holidays
that
is it
would
referring
constitute
to?
a conversation with somebody that I'm pretty sure does not want to hold a conversation with us.
So when you hear things like this, what goes through? What are your emotions?
And to bring it back to, I know that a lot of players have struggled with acceptance in the United States and becoming icons, and we've seen what to bring Big Papi back just because it's his farewell tour. That they've become so comfortable speaking in English and just doing this, and they try so hard. We saw what happened with Carlos Gomez and the Houston Chronicle and him being misquoted. I'm sorry, no, not misquoted, quoted verbatim.
Yeah.
The way without cleaning up quotes. And
it was a
understand
mocker.
the point.
You know,
but
it was a
there is a
mocker.
point where I have an accent, right? My first language is Spanish. I have an accent. I am trying to help your culture, but I still have my culture. You have to respect it. I am not going to give up everything that makes me me just because you don't like it. That's the only reason. It's not like I'm not enriching America. It's not that I'm not a contributing member of society. It's not that I haven't spoken English. It's because you don't like me being here. That's the bottom line.
But this is the thing, and I'll go back, again, being born and raised in Miami, and I felt which really helped kind of groom me to the person I am today is I love diversity. You know what I mean? And because of your accent, and I was so thrilled to do the show today with two Latin women because of your accents and the diversity and the passion that you guys come to the show with. It's different. If we were all the same, we would be boring.
It's boring. Very boring.
Boring. And another thing is, understand that this was said on a political platform. He was at a political luncheon, right? This is why.
So he's speaking.
Politics? No. But I don't like to discuss it. Put it on the show.
Yeah, he had a target audience.
This is him. He
brought it into sports by saying with your soccer team.
Yeah,
that's it.
You brought sports in.
And I think persona alone leads us to talk about.
Oh, by the way, I want to tell Lou Holes something. My soccer team, Chelsea. Maybe I should stop.
Well, keep in mind we just had Euro 2016, right? So that may have been like fresh in his mind.
Do you mean when Germany played? Like in this? Come on.
When I read the whole quote, my gut reaction was, oh my God, how can you be so ignorant? Then I said, I feel sorry for you because you're depriving yourself of what makes us.
He's missing out.
Big time.
That's it.
Big time. Because what makes America great is the fact that we can do this, and it's a free country to be able to do this. And he obviously does not see it. It's sad.
I wonder if he's been to Ellis Island. Because he's been to Ellis Island. Which is such a beautiful and moving experience to be at Ellis Island.
I know. Especially if you know, like myself, you know that your relatives came to the United States from there. So.
On the latest SportsCenter podcast with me, Linda Cohn, do Jeremy Fowler and Mark Dominic agree with Washington's decision to franchise Kirk Cousins? And we'll tell you how technology will benefit all of us who love the NFL. Subscribe on the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
Meanwhile, Bob Arum told ESPN.com that Manny Pacquiao will come out of retirement on November 5th at the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas, but it hasn't been determined who he will fight. So, at 37 years old, Pacquiao is boxing's only 8-division title holder. This news comes a little more than a year after his fight with Floyd Mayweather destroyed all-time boxing records for pay-per-view buys, pay-per-view revenue, and live gate. We have a boxing analyst here right on the show. Claudia Trejo's in the house.
Right? In the house.
So I can't wait for this perspective here. How do you feel about the current state of boxing? Break it down for us on an insider's perspective.
There's a crisis. I cannot cover the sun with a finger, and the truth is we have a huge void. We don't have those big name stars. I mean, the fact that we're still expecting Manny Pacquiao to come back at 37 years old and give us, a toe-to-toe fight, and we're expecting him to break those records once again, that goes to show how empty boxing is. And we talked about it. The heavyweight division was the marquee division, the money-making, the big purses, the big show. Prize fighting was based on those huge names, Mike Tyson, and let's go further back, Muhammad Ali, and you name it. Those were the guys that brought us back. And those were the guys that you would, have the gathering at the house, stay late up just to watch these fights. Well, guess what? We don't have those names anymore. Yeah. The heavyweight division, if I was to name a few people, do you know who Tyson Fury is?
Nope.
I don't.
Okay, he's a heavyweight champion. And again, we have 5 different sanctioning bodies that are not even sanctioning bodies. They just give out belts. And we've also lost respect for the belt. So now you go, who's that? And, he's the WBC, WBO. There's a lot of confusion. We used to have Don King as the one, the tier 1 promoter. Then you have Top Rank. And now we have all these different little promoters coming in and out. And there is not one sanctioning body that can actually come and say, okay, so we're going to have Pepito Perez, who's the best, fighting Menganito Perez, who's the best, and we're going to get the best. Typical, all the leagues that we used to cover. NHL, NBA, NFL. So that's another thing that's actually hurting the sport. Another thing that's hurting the sport is pay-per-view. What happened to all those late nights, watching CBS, watching all these guys come, from the amateur levels, making their way into the pros, and then making it into the big show. We're not acquainted with these names anymore. Again, I go back to all these names that I could throw right now. Thurman. You're going who's Keith Thurman? Who is that guy?
I do know Keith Thurman.
Oh, you do? I am
There we
so
go.
proud of you. But if I was to say Floyd Mayweather, that name has transcended the sport itself. If I was to say somebody like Manny Pacquiao, and may I just remind you, Manny Pacquiao was the third-tier guy behind Eric El Terrible Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera. And I bet you there's not that many people that know those names. But it took Floyd Mayweather 17 years to get to that level. It took Manny Pacquiao pretty much the same amount of time. So what's going on? We don't have a revolving door of talent that's being processed through the viewership that you get acquainted with. You know, Sugar Ray Leonard made his way to the Olympics. Then from the Olympics, he made it to regular broadcast. Then he made it to pay-per-view. So why are we still looking at a Manny Pacquiao return? Why aren't we giving other 147-pounders the opportunity to come into the big shows?
Because he's a household name.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, we don't have household names anymore.
We used to have so many.
I know I'm going to date.
But they're gone.
I know I'm going to date myself here. But I remember a time where when Tyson fought, you did not miss it.
Exactly.
You weren't putting money on whether or not he was going to win or lose. You were putting money on the second in the first round that he was going to knock a dude out. Lennox Lewis, Holyfield, I mean, you know, Ali, Frazier, that era of boxing is gone. And unfortunately, for all the reasons that you mentioned, the fact that the governing body is not really a governing body.
No, they have absolutely no power.
It's not the fights that are being produced. It's not the best against the best. On top of that, I think you're seeing a lot of young, very exciting athletes that are choosing to go the NFL route, the NBA route, even soccer now, as opposed to boxing. I think that there are better options, safer options, because of concussions and whatnot, that they're deciding to go other directions other than boxing. I think there are a number of reasons why, and I doubt we will ever, the heavyweight division, what it used to be, and the excitement and the money we used to pay just to get in a place, right? We want to be in the room, right? We want to be in that room to watch that. Just doesn't exist anymore. So why are we even talking about Manny Pacquiao coming back to fight at
37?
At his age, did he even repair his?
Yeah, he had a surgery.
Jeez,
but you know what?
I talked about that last night. I mean, come on. You know, this is a fight, Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. This is a fight that we've been wanting for 5 years now. It happened too late, and he was injured. And you asked me. You said, if Manny Pacquiao comes back and fights, will I watch? And I said, is he going to fight? Is he going to fight Floyd healthy with a healthy shoulder? No. Well, then no, I'm not going to watch. So there's no excitement, there's no sex appeal, there's no buzz. It just doesn't exist anymore.
I think also one of the things, at least how it happened to me, and boxing was my first love when I was a little kid, because because it was the one. Well, it was not only. I mean, you could be like Wilfredo Gomez. I mean, it just kept going. I think for me, which is entirely different, is that there isn't. I mean, there's a few now. I'm a little bit older now, but also all these great champions that had your last name. And you could just watch them on TV, and you would get so excited, and your parents would let you up, you know, at midnight to watch El Chapo Rosario fight, to watch Hector Macho Camacho fight. And that, for me, was so special. And now, Hispanics, you know, especially Puerto Ricans, is not the only way out. There's other options. And boxing was this way out, right? It's just you and the gym. Well, you don't see that anymore.
Well, but think about it economically. Let's just look at finances.
Yeah.
How much money does it take to just walk to the local gym and beat somebody up?
Yep.
Whereas if
they do it for free.
You do it for free. Exactly. And then you might get 19 fights, and you might get $1 or $2. And there's people that actually make a living fighting every other week, $500. I know fighters that have been in the ring for 10 rounds for $500. So it's a way out. If you want to play football, you need cleats, you need pads, you need a helmet.
Which is why soccer is also very popular, right? It's simpler.
It's very
less
basic.
Yeah.
And let's talk baseball. How much is a bat? How much is a glove? It's very expensive. Boxing was the way out in the 70s, 80s. It's not anymore. And what you said is so true. Now we have all those heavyweights that would rather play football because the opportunity, there is no transition in boxing. There is no amateur, you go to college, then you become pro. There is nothing like that.
You're a pro the moment you step on that ring. It's
exactly.
Like, right?
Guess what? And you're not making big bucks when you're stepping into the ring for those first couple of times.
Unless you're Pacquiao.
Not even then, because if he started, he was not getting paid in the beginning of his career. But if you go into football, you have a guaranteed contract. You go into baseball, there's a guarantee. And even then, you have a possibility of getting an education. So Boxing doesn't give that opportunity.
I have a question for you, and maybe I'm biased here because I've moved around a little bit, New York, LA, and now here in Connecticut at Meriden I work out, always in boxing gyms, so there's boxers around. So I also love the sport, grew up watching it as well, and I want to see the sport come back. I want this to be more optimistic. So two-part question here. The first thing is, it's not that there's a lack of talent, though.
Exactly.
Right? There's talent, and there's talent internationally. Am I correct? I know you're saying there's all these different ways to get out, and there's all these different sports, but there's still talented fighters. Am I correct with that?
You're absolutely right.
So how does this get rectified? If it's just one governing body, if it's streamlined, like, is there any potential to get back to those glory days that we're talking about?
Very good question, and I wish I had a very concise answer. The talent is there, but we're so embedded into making money right now. So there is nobody out there that's willing to allow that talent to grow. Like I was saying, a Sugar Ray Leonard that made his progress, natural progress into the pros. Roberto Manos de Piedra Duran, same thing. They made the... Oscar de la Hoya, for God's sakes. We've had fighters that made their career on Friday night fights, even Wednesday night fights. That doesn't happen anymore. We don't have those promoters that are willing to pay and allow these fighters to hone their talent and become big stars. They want to guarantee that big purse to those big names that have been around forever, and obviously that's taking the space of that new talent that's coming up. We have a very competitive division at 147 pounds, 154, 160 pounders. But who do we hear about? Triple G. He's dominating the league, but there's more 160.
But
there's
is it about personality? Like, don't we need someone's personality to capture our imagination?
But that's another thing. Our audience has changed. We don't have the same audience as back in the 70s and 80s. Where
it's an older audience.
Not only that, it's because that relationship with the athlete itself, and I think it goes across all the sports, that relationship has changed. Now you have to have somebody that has charisma, personality, and is standing for something.
Also, the audience, they're watching UFC.
They're
watching. They're waiting for Ronda Rousey and Holly Holmes rematch.
But 40 plus, I think, is boxing.
So
that's why I feel
the millennial, right? Like they love.
I almost feel bad for this generation if they're not going to get to see boxing like what it was. That's why I'm saying
that. Classic. There's nothing like staying up at midnight and just.
And I love the UFC.
Tito Trinidad, Bernard Hopkins.
All right.
I mean, we all remember where we were.
Yes.
When the ear was bit off.
Oh yeah. And when Tyson went down.
Talk about personality.
Yes. Speaking of boxing fans, Stephen A. just sent in a tweet. What's up, Stephen A.? He said, look at the ladies holding it down on First Take, especially my girl Marley Rivera. Aww. You go, girl. No worries, Molly. The love is here. So, of course, we miss him.
He took a break from watching General Hospital to
that's
huge.
Yeah.
So he likes novelas?
Oh, are you
guys? He does. You like him even more now, too.
Here we go.
And he can actually cook. We found that out as well. So,
so he's marrying material.
Oh, yes, yes.
Good job.
Yes. So Stephen A. will be back on Monday. We can't wait for the new era. But meanwhile, ladies holding it down. We are continuing our preview
the
of
other side of her business.
Yes, of the NFL season here. And we're going to play a little game of AFC, NFC, fill in the blank. We good? All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the NFC. The Redskins were the only team in the NFC East with a winning record and won the division at 9-7, but odds makers have the Cowboys favored to win the division in 2016. Claudia, I start with you. So fill in the blank. The blank will win the NFC East.
Ay, por favor. Obviously the Cowboys.
Yes.
And I'm not a Royal fan, but you know what? I'm sorry. They have new facilities. That stadium.
Oh, that's good for them.
Dude, that's a serious investment. Really?
It didn't work that well for the Giants.
It hasn't worked. Giants voted. It's okay. The Cowboys will take it, Mama.
That's it?
That's it.
That's what you're rolling with? Okay, well.
Now she's going to bring out the whole
over here.
Obviously, I have finished all my blue Kool-Aid.
Yes.
And I'm going with the Giants blue, because let me tell you something. The Giants are going to the NFC East this year. Okay, Eli Manning, third year in Ben McAdoo's system. Eli Manning is going to crush it. And for all you fantasy football players out there, listen to me. You want him on your team.
Really?
Oh, my gosh. Odell Beckham Jr., they went out, they drafted Sterling Shepard.
Tell him.
Oh, my God.
Preach.
Molly, I am
because everybody thinks
Can I get a witness up in here? Because I am preaching.
Because everybody thinks the Giants aren't going to be that good this year.
Let me tell you something. Odell Beckham Jr., and he is ready. You see him, he's working out at 3 a.m. because he was voted 10 overall. On NFL.com by his peers in regards to the best player in the NFL. Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, if if Victor Cruz is even 75%, watch out. This very well could be one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL. On top of that, look at the money, the Camaras and the Tishes and Jerry Reese spent on defense. Are you kidding me? JPP is going to come back. I mean, I think JPP and that whole 4th of July and what, I think he's one of the best stories in the NFL, especially if he comes back and he has the kind of season that I think he's going to have this year. Olivier Vernon, he comes over from Miami, Snacks. You put Snacks in the middle, who's going to run on him? Nobody. Okay? And then, of course, you have Hankins. I really, really do believe this is a special year for the Giants.
We've been waiting for that special year for a while, Mama.
I'm joking that, yes, I know that I cover the team, I drink the blue Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
but if you know anything about me, I'm very honest. I will tell you when the Giants are going to stink. They're not going to stink this year. It's going to come down to them, I feel, in Washington in a race for the NFC East. Romo, the dude can't stay healthy, man. I don't know.
He will be. He's got to. Yes.
Really?
Yes, he's got help.
I think that
he has help this year.
Okay.
Well, you know what? We'll talk week 5.
You're really...
Did I sell you?
No. And I wish you did.
How did I not just sell you on that?
I think it's going to be another 9-7 year, but it's going to go over there, and this hurts me. People don't understand how much it pains me right now to say that the Cowboys are going to win. The pain that I feel inside by uttering those words, that I think I may not be able to show up back in my apartment saying that the Cowboys are going to win. I think that Romo's going to be all right. I think Brian and Skandrick are healthy.
I'm just curious. But what makes you think that Tony Romo is going to be healthy?
I didn't say healthy.
I'm just curious.
But I think the wild card here is my boy Zeke Elliott. That's it, and I think that's going to make a difference.
He makes a huge difference.
Zeke is going to do it.
That was a great acquisition.
I really like the O-line. Now their defensive
the best offensive line in the
That's a beautiful O-line, so I think that's where I'm going to go. But I think it's going to be very close, and the strength of schedule of the NFC, worrisome for everybody else. Very, very worrisome.
I'm just soaking that all in right now. All right. Well,
it hurt me.
Yeah.
I know. I can feel it.
You know what? Cowboys, one Giant, and nobody giving Washington any love.
But let me qualify my statement. I am not a Cowboy fan at all.
Okay.
But you got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
They did their due diligence. They brought in serious, and I know I can't.
Their defense, we got to move on. But I don't know about the Cowboys' defense. There, I get it. They'll be able to put up points. Yeah, no pass rushers. But we move on. The Panthers were one win away from the first championship in the franchise history, but fell to the Broncos in Super Bowl 50. However, Carolina still won 15 games, and MVP Cam Newton gets his top weapon back this season when Kelvin Benjamin returns from injury. Anita, fill in the blank. The Panthers will win blank games this season.
I'm saying 12. I'm going with 12 games, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, let's understand something. Cam Newton was able to put up the numbers, and granted, a lot of them were rushing, but Cam Newton was able to put up those numbers with Ted Ginn Jr.
Yes.
Can we marinate in this for a minute?
Say it again.
Ted Ginn Jr.
Ted Ginn Jr. With all due respect to the Ginn family. As
his leading receiver this year, you get Kelvin Benjamin back, and keep in mind, Kelvin Benjamin, he injured his knee early on. He's had a lot of time to recover and get ready for this season. I think Devin Funchess, I love saying his name, Funchess, by the way. I think he's going to take a next step. He's second year. Obviously, you've got some concerns on the defensive side of the ball. The fact that Josh Norman has now left Carolina to go to Washington, even though Odell feels that the main reason he went to Washington is because of him. Is because of Odell. We'll get to that a little bit.
Ego, love it.
But I'm saying 12 wins. I love Cam Newton. He's redefining the quarterback position. He's going to have a lot more weapons and a lot more talent to work with offensively. I haven't even mentioned Greg Olsen. So I think 12 wins. I think that's a fair number.
It was one of the things that I thought 12. I went a little bit down. I still think they win the division. I picked 10. You know, it's kind of like but I don't disagree with anything you said. I think it's going to be a great year for Kuechly too. And I think these are the moments. And my love for Ron Rivera is just expanding. So I think that this is going to be a great year and another MVP year for Cam Newton.
I agree with everything you guys said. I just, like you, I want to be a little bit more conservative just because there's no way you can repeat that. There's no way you can not even overdo what they did last season. So I'm just being conservative, but 10 is a solid number. I like Cam Newton. I like what he does. I still think he's got everything that needs to be done to even, do something similar to the Dolphins in that era that we just Can't forget.
The 72 Dolphins.
Yes.
Really quick, I just want to share before we move on to our next topic. The Panthers could easily start off 6-0. These are their opponents. The Broncos, the 49ers, the Vikings, the Falcons, the Bucks, and the Saints. So keep that in mind.
Yeah,
and I know it's dangerous. I know it's dangerous right now.
Winnable on paper.
And look on paper and expect. I get that, but right now,
we have no reason to believe they're not going to be.
There's a good chance that they could start off really on a good run and go 6-0.
All right, let's move on here. For the third time in his career, Adrian Peterson won the NFL rushing title with nearly 1,500 yards in 2015. Peterson just turned 31 years old in March, and history shows that time hasn't been kind to running backs after turning 30. We know Father Time gets the best of everybody. Fill in the blank. Adrian Peterson will rush for blank yards this season. I'll start with you, Marley.
1,400. Just slightly under what he did last year. I think it's going to be very hard for him eventually to get some records that we know that he's looking at those numbers. That's going to be very, very difficult. But you know what? I think he's going to, and I'm going to give some love to Zeke again. I think Zeke is going to give him a run for his money in terms of, the running title. But 1,400, slightly under what he did last year. What was it, 1,485?
1,485.
So we're okay.
Can I just say, you've arrived when you just go by like Zeke, and of course we're talking about Ezekiel Elliott.
My boy.
Yeah. Like
you're already
you know
the
moment
I do my Ohio State.
People just know, like she said Zeke, we know exactly who she's talking about. Like Zeke.
And it's a fantastic talent, but I got to tell you, right now, Peterson is very motivated. He's really looking to that cherry. He has his eye on the Super Bowl. He wants to perform in front of his people. I know Houston
that
is
stadium.
In Houston,
So beautiful.
He's looking forward to that. And again, 1,485, that's just shy from 1,500. I think he's going to go for those 1,500. I really do. I have faith in him. I really do. And he's got some serious postura de gallina. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And explain to the ladies.
Yes, please.
What the hen usually lays.
Language handicap here.
It's a little bit of an
What does a hen lay?
They have a little,
Got it.
Exactly.
We got
There
it.
you go.
So based on that, I understand he's highly motivated, both economically and what are you laughing?
We saw that training facility he built, moved his home closer to it in Houston. We saw it. He's all
training
in.
facility.
Yeah, I know. You're all about the new stadium, Claudia. I'm with you. I'm saying 1,400. Let me tell you something.
I'm so proud that the number that you have, the NFL expert, is close to mine. This is a very memorable moment for me.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this dude's a freak.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's
How he came back from injury.
The way that he came back is
With a
quickly as
bang,
he
man.
did from ACL. He sleeps in an oxygen chamber. Like God knows what he eats. I'm sure he has 2 personal chefs, and he's just genetically
Gifted, yes.
like genetically
Engineered.
Yes.
Because it's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I see him, and I'm really excited. Let me tell you something. I love North Turner, and I love Teddy Bridgewater. And I'm really believing that this is the year that the Minnesota Vikings offense takes the next step in the passing attack. Okay, they bring in Treadwell, okay? Diggs, we saw what he was able to do last year. I'm hoping that the offensively, they kind of spread the field a little bit, they open it up, they have some type of passing attack that now guys aren't going to be able to put 9 in a box. And also, I would like to see Adrian Peterson get more touches in regard to receptions. Last year, 30 receptions, 220 yards. I want to see more. So I'm saying 1,400 rushing yards, but I'd love to see him try to get up to 2,000 all-purpose yards.
And to see him
I think that would
be
be
named
really,
with
really
LaDainian
great.
Tomlinson and Emmitt Smith. That's what we want.
Watch
right? Like,
out in PPR
eventually.
leagues with that, right?
Yeah.
No, but of course, to be able to do more things with another year, Teddy Bridgewater having that experience under his belt and under that offense with North Turner. All right, let's move on to the NFC West. Tough division here. So as it was in 2015, many believe the NFC West will be a 2-horse race between the Seahawks and Cardinals. Arizona won the West last season and reached the NFC Championship game, while the Seahawks are only a year removed from 2 straight Super Bowl appearances. Claudia, fill in the blank. The blank will win the NFC West.
Arizona's going to take it. I think they've done a great job at just reinforcing everything, and I don't think last season was a clear reflection of what they have. They've had time to marinate and gel together, and I think this is the season for them to just take it a step
further in the playoffs. Yep.
I'm with you. I love the Arizona Cardinals. I love Bruce Arians. I really do. Last time I was on the show, we had to rank like who we felt were some of the top coaches in the NFL, and Bruce Arians was definitely on my top 5 list. The culture, the attitude, the swagger that he has really implemented in in that team at that
he's a
facility.
great guy. Great heart.
And he's just awesome. Also, they have arguably one of the best offense and defensive lines in the NFL. And of course, you hear that phrase all the time. It's one in the trenches. On top of that, Carson Palmer, he's itching. He so wants to win. I'm excited for him this season. And keep an eye on Michael Floyd. This is a wide receiver. Again, all you fantasy football folks out there. This is a guy who wants to get paid. Larry is he's another one. He's genetically gifted. I'm still thinking that Larry's going to be great, more of a possession receiver. I think we saw him accept that role more so the last year. Brown, I think, we'll see another good season from him, but I'm keeping an eye on Michael Floyd. This is a guy that I really think needs to explode this season, and I think he will.
Here we go again. I'm taking the Seahawks.
Okay.
The only reason is, and my love out there for Carson Palmer. Carson, we had a good time at USC. It was wonderful when I was rooting for you, but he's 36. I don't think those knees have it, and I think that's going to be the reason. This is an aging team, especially. I don't think that we can count on Larry anymore. Future Hall of Famer, another first name basis right there with Mr. Fitzgerald, and I think that Carson isn't going to repeat the outstanding performance that we saw last year, and I think injuries are going to down the Arizona Cardinals.
Interesting.
So
I'm so sorry to
you're
say
sure not
that.
going with Wilson because he
Ciara.
Yeah, he just got married.
He just got the goodies.
And now,
He's getting a whole bunch of goodies. God bless him.
I mean, I'm sure that
Remember
Russell
that
Wilson
song?
is very happy and having a very good time with a beautiful woman.
Yes.
But the only reason why I picked this is because I don't believe Carson Palmer is going to do what he did this season, which was outstanding.
With the NFC in the books, we now continue our NFL season preview with AFC fill in the blank. Ladies, are we ready? All right,
Here we go.
Let's start here with the AFC. So we can all now say that the Patriots will be without Tom Brady for the first 4 games of the NFL season after deciding to accept the suspension for his role in Deflategate. So fill in the blank for me, Marley. The Patriots will win blank games this season.
As a Jets fan, once again, I have to say that somebody else is going to win this division, but it's not coming from me. This is a little shout out to the cops and the security guards at Fenway who told me last night, especially Anthony and all those guys, they told me that the Patriots are going to win 11 games and win the division. I'm deferring to them. I can't pick the Patriots, so there you go. Here, Patriots, you're going to win 11.
Fenway, that's nice.
It. People at Fenway say the Patriots are going to win 11.
Of course they do.
Well, I think they're going to get at least 10 games. We could negotiate on 11, but it's almost unrealistic to go any further. I mean, I'm not going to take any credit away from what they can do without Tom Brady, but without him, it's very hard.
Of course.
And you know, again, the schedule favors. In many ways, those 4 first games are really not tough. They're really not complicated. I'd say 2 out of those 4.
Well,
The first one, the Cardinals.
I think the Cardinals are tough, and don't sleep on the Texans.
They
But
come to
Dolphins,
Browns.
really?
They come to
You and I
Browns.
know about Dolphins.
I'm a big Adam Gase fan. I think the issue with the Dolphins is just getting Tannehill, who my mom, by the way, who's watching the show right now, calls him Tannekill.
Because
He'll kill anybody.
turnovers.
From Miami, she's a Miami Dolphin fan. But mom, trust me, I'm a big believer in Adam Gase. But Patriots, I'm looking at 10 wins. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Garoppolo does. Okay, I mean, you've got at the Cardinals, and then they have 3 home games against the Dolphins, the Texans, and the Bills. I think the Texans are going to be really good this year. So I'm looking at those first 4 games, and I'm going 2-2. They'll be lucky if they walk away 3-1. That's how I'm looking at it. Now, they've got some really, and again, I know it's dangerous right now to look at the schedule and assume how good or bad a team's going to be, but the Browns, the 49ers, the Jets twice.
Really?
Sorry, Jets fans. I mean, you guys don't even have a quarterback right now. And
Hey.
you
But
know?
they don't.
No, I understand that. but
Okay.
let's just-
Yeah.
Just
It's
be
a
a little
fact. It's a
kind.
fact. You don't have a
It's okay.
quarterback.
It's coming. It's okay. It's okay. Fitzpatrick is right there.
Yeah?
They're texting. They're texting.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't
he
think
gave up
so.
on his lease.
So you have how many?
And the Rams. So I have 10 games. I have 10 games
Yep.
for the Patriots. I think it's going to be a much more competitive division than what most people think. And another thing is we're talking about the Patriots and offense because it's Tom Brady. Let me tell you something. They've got some studs on the defensive side of the ball. This very well could be one of the best defenses that Bill Belichick is coming to the table with this year in regard to linebackers and defensive linemen getting after quarterbacks. Don't sleep on this Patriots defense, and I think they're going to be a really big key for those first 4 games as we kind of, I mean, we don't know what Garoppolo's going to
Yeah,
bring.
and I'm excited to see what kind of player he is and if he could
I
potentially
agree.
be the future after
I think
Brady retires.
the thing that I'm most worried about is that first game back against the Cleveland Browns. That's going to be very difficult. for the Patriots.
You're being facetious there.
That's going to be very difficult for the Browns to have to face Brady.
And this is to you, Anita. Being Garoppolo, known for being a completely different quarterback from Tom Brady. How is Bill Belichick going to adjust everything based on he's a lot faster, his footwork is a little bit faster, he's not as seasoned as Tom Brady, but obviously those adjustments have to be done.
Yeah, but they've had this offense in place for
for
so long.
It pains it.
So we're just changing.
But your point is solid in regard to Garoppolo, potentially a better athlete than Tom Brady. So again,
it'll be interesting to see. But Bill Belichick, yes, he always comes up with a great game plan, so he'll plug someone else in, and we'll see what happens. But 2-2 seems, or potentially 3-1, could be realistic there. Let's move on now. He's now the highest paid player in the National Football League, but Andrew Luck is coming off an injury-plagued season in which he played only 7 games. Luck did throw a career-high 40 TDs in 2014 when he played all 16 games. So fill in the blank for me, Claudia. Andrew Luck will throw blank TDs this season.
36. He's 36.
I love it.
I think he's finally no injuries. He's healthy. He's solid and highly motivated.
It's a man.
Oh my gosh, he's got all kinds of eyeballs on him. He has to perform. Finally, everybody's questioning his ability, questioning the fact if he can stay healthy throughout a whole season. So I think, again, 40, that's season best, obviously career best. It's going to be hard to repeat that, but 36 is a good solid number from my point of view.
I'm looking at 31. I mean, listen, I don't think the Brinks trucks have left his garage yet. I think they're still delivering the money. I mean, highest paid player in the NFL. I think he needs to throw at least 30, if not 31, 32. And I'm really excited for this offense. Number one, you talk about his health. This is an organization that has invested in an offensive line to try to help him stay healthy. Number two, I think he's learned from the past in regard to trying not to force things and knowing when to go down. And also, again, you've got T.Y. Hilton, Moncrief, and Philip Dorsett, who really wasn't utilized last year. He's going to play the slot. He's one of the fastest, if the not fastest player in the NFL. I'd love to see him and Tyler Lockett run the 40, but I really am excited for this offense, and so I'm saying 31, but man, it could be a lot more than that if this offense gels and he does stay healthy.
Mine is just one more, 32. I was right there. I think that, we know about the 7 games for the lacerated kidney last year. Obviously, that was a freak accident. It isn't something like you can't keep yourself healthy. You had a lacerated kidney.
Right.
So, but at this point, 32. I think it's a safe number. I think it's an up year, not quite a career year. And absolutely, and I love, I think the improvement they've done in the offensive line, very important.
Let's move on to another team with a lot of question marks, and we'll start with you, Anita, on this one. Interesting offseason for the Super Bowl champs. The Broncos lose quarterbacks Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler, as well as defensive stars Malik Jackson and Danny Trevathan. So in comes Mark Sanchez, first-round draft pick Paxton Lynch, and Denver also re-signed Super Bowl MVP Von Miller to anchor a very good defense, and also, of course, Trevor Siemian there, too. Very quickly, ladies, here, fill in the blank. The Broncos will win blank games this season.
8 games, 2 words, Mark Sanchez. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I agree.
Really? And I get it. He's going to be competing with Paxton Lynch.
But you think he's going to be the guy?
I do believe he's going to be the guy. I think it's going to be really probably one of the most important seasons for Gary Kubiak to really try to get Mark Sanchez to be that quarterback that you can rely on, not turn over the ball, because we know what their defense is. I just don't know if this team is going to be able to get back to the Super Bowl and get back to the playoffs with Mark Sanchez as their quarterback.
I gave him about 10. And I do hear you on the Mark Sanchez point. I used to cover, the Jets when Sanchez was there, and we saw it happen firsthand. But then again, let's give him credit.
He's got to watch out for
Let's
moving
give him
butts.
credit. Those first 2... The butt fumble right there, ladies, and never died. It refuses to die, the butt fumble. But those first 2 seasons, but that's a thing of the past. I did give him a little bit more credit, and I don't think that Sanchez will finish the season as a quarterback for the Broncos.
I really don't think they're going to go past 8.
Why are baseball players hitting more home runs than they have since the steroid era? We discussed this week on Hot Takedown, 538 Sports Podcast. Subscribe now in iTunes or on the Listen tab of your ESPN app.
Monday, it all goes down. Meanwhile, Week 15 between the Giants and Panthers last season was highlighted by the physical play between Odell Beckham and Josh Norman, which led to a 1-game suspension for Beckham. Beckham is adding to the intrigue with the latest comments he shared with GQ. Quote, "The reason he's become so relevant is because of me. If I wasn't playing him twice a year, maybe people wouldn't bring him up as much. But now it'll be a lot more media attention for him, attention that I don't really look for, attention that I don't need. The reason he's become so relevant is because of me." So, of course, Josh Norman is now with the Redskins in the same division, and that's who Beckham's referring to. Do you have a problem with OD's comments?
Love it. Before we were talking about boxing, we're saying we need some personality. Here it is, handed to you in a silver platter. Now, back it up. I'm not saying that you can't back it up, and he did last year. He's a rising star. He was only short, one short with his 13 TDs, just only one short of the league. I mean, come on, this is fantastic. This means, and you know what's the most important thing? And I was just looking at the schedule. The NFC East, terrible. What a division. I don't even want to watch any of those games. I really don't. September 25th and January 1st, I will be watching.
Yeah,
because the Giants are playing the Redskins.
This is feeding into that excitement, and you can arguably say one of the most exciting matchups, player versus player, I think that we're going to watch. But what's interesting to me is this is so not typical Giants. Right? I mean, this kind of flamboyant, kind of like a little egotistical. It's not. In fact, here's a little nugget for you. The Giants went out and hired a new wide receiver coach. His name is Adam Henry. He was Odell Beckham Jr.'s receiver coach at LSU for 2 years for this reason, so that what happened last year will not happen this year. On top of the fact that I'm sure he's an excellent coach, but a guy that Odell can relate to, a guy that if Odell gets a little hot under the collar or under the pads, can cool him down a little bit. This adds fuel to the fire. Don't think that Josh Norman isn't knowing, hearing, understanding what he's saying.
Love it.
So we love it because on September 25th and January 1st, man,
it's on.
T.O., where's the popcorn? Where's the popcorn? We're going to be there. We're going to be watching. But do the Giants like this? I don't think so. Does Adam Henry, his wide receiver coach, like this? I don't think so. A little humility. I kind of like a little humility, but you're right. As a spectator, as a media person,
bring it.
Of course.
Bring it.
I have 2 points. The truth is that division lacks luster. So this just brings in a little bit. Well, I'm being politically correct.
Proper.
So we need to add a little spice. Now, am I happy with his comments? Who cares? He just wants to sell the games. You know what? We need ratings, and that makes a great.
Oh, the NFL doesn't need ratings.
No, but I'm saying for that division. We do need those eyeballs back in there, and that will bring the eyeballs. Again, we have 4 ladies that are willing to spend 2 nights watching these games.
Well, Anita will be working.
Yeah, we'll be watching you. But yeah, I like Norman's attitude. It's like, yeah, all right, whatever. You know what? The money was not what actually enticed him to leave.
$50 million. Yeah, I think had a little something to do.
No, but according to Odell, it's all about him,
too.
and it's all about him. And guess what? That's going to, light a little something.
I love it.
Just needs to keep the emotions under control. If he's going to talk the trash and talk the junk,
you have to back it up.
Out of hand. So not just back it up, but be able to not totally lose his cool. Because you're right, this isn't the Giants' way.
But I will say this. Listen, Josh Norman, that is a topic of discussion. Again, if anybody knows me, my wheelhouse is NFL, my wheelhouse is fantasy football. I'm always looking to see what wide receiver is going up against Josh Norman each and every week, because I'm not expecting as much from him, or trying to understand what the game plan was going to be for the Carolina Panthers to see, all right, what wide receiver I might downgrade on my fantasy football roster. So Odell is wrong in that sense. Josh Norman was relevant. He was. Now, is he more relevant now? Is this matchup going to be the premier matchup in the NFL? Absolutely.
So this is his Kanye moment,
give Josh
right?
Norman.
This is Kanye moment with Taylor Swift.
Yes.
He's saying, I made you famous.
There you go.
It's all about me.
You're right.
So Odell is Kanye.
Tied it all in.
That's it. I like it. That's what I like
Let's
to
drop
do.
the mic right there. The WNBA fined the New York Liberty, Phoenix Mercury, and Indiana Fever and their players for wearing black warm-up shirts in the wake of recent shootings by and against police officers. All 3 teams were fined $5,000, and each player was fined $500. Anita, what's your reaction to these fines?
Disappointing. Extremely disappointing. I'm going to read a quote from Carmelo Anthony, who, as we know, plays for the Knicks. This is what he posted on social media, I want to say last week. I'm calling for all my fellow athletes to step up and take charge. Go to your local officials, leaders, congressmen, assemblymen, assemblywomen, and demand change. There's no more sitting back and being afraid of tackling and addressing political issues anymore. Athletes have a platform that most people do not. And these are a number of young, very talented women who utilize their platform. We have young black men that are getting gunned down. We have police officers that are being killed. This needs to stop. This needs to change. Melo reached out to fellow athletes and said, do something, make a difference. They did, and now they're getting financially punished for it. Another thing, women in the WNBA, their average salary is $72,000 a season, compared to, of course, and we just saw the ridiculous money that was thrown out in the NBA. I'm reaching out to Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, all those fantastic gentlemen who stood up in the ESPYs, help these women out. This is what I think should happen. I think every WNBA team should come out on the court wearing black, however you want to support this change that needs to happen. And since they are kind of in bed together, WNBA, NBA, have some NBA players step up and, you know what, pay those fines. Help them. Brandon Marshall pays the fines when he wears green socks for helping mental issues, okay? And of course, D'Angelo Williams, when he wears pink when he's not supposed to wear pink during Breast Cancer Month in the NFL, and they can't afford the fines. So I think this is very, very disappointing on the part of the WNBA.
I think so, and I couldn't agree with you more. Open up your wallet, pay it up. I think so. All these athletes that have all this money. And you used the word perfectly, which is platform. This is a platform for social change. And many athletes have done it for many, this isn't new, right? Like we well know what they're doing. It has happened for so many years. And I think the beauty of this is that it shows us the power of sports. Sometimes I struggle every once in a while to find why my job is relevant. Why is it that as a media member covering, waiting around, I like to call it waiting around for men to get dressed. That's really what I do.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait. That's what we do.
A lot of times that's really what it is.
I try to find relevance, and that's the point, because it shows us the power of sports. And if there is a moment that can affect social change, this is it. Come on, open your wallet. I'm with you. Come on, $500 is a drop in the bucket.
For most of them, yes.
Just do it.
The interesting thing is,
I would like to see more Hispanic players do the same thing.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, I think the league is going to turn around and say, well, we're just fining them because they're going against uniform policy. Well,
it was the warm-up.
No, hang tight. And we actually had people research throughout all the policies where, the media guide, they have every single policy. There is no uniform policy available that we can actually, readily...
We can point to.
No, nothing at all. And like you said, it was a warm-up. Again, it's a statement. It's a strong statement. It might make other people uncomfortable.
The
but
Clippers
guess what?
did it a couple of years ago. I mean...
We need to be uncomfortable in order to bring those issues to the table. We need to get out of our comfort zone to be able, and what better platform than to have all these people that are role models for both young men and young women to be able to say, yeah, we do have an issue.
And especially with the percentage of African-American athletes. It's just a beautiful, you talked about it with the ESPYs.
Yes.
What happened, we were referring to that. What a powerful moment. To see the idols of all these kids standing up there and saying, this affects us all.
And just to preface, I'm a big supporter of the WNBA. It's really, it's amazing. It's unbelievable what they've been able to achieve in the years that, of course, they've been in existence. But I'm disappointed here. I really am. I don't believe that these women should be fined
at all.
And it's not just the women. The women are being fined $500, but the teams are also being fined $5,000. So the teams and the players are both being fined, and I think it's wrong. I think where we are right now in our society, I know this is a release for a lot of people to watch sports or listen to sports, but where we are in a hot mess right now, and things need to change. And how do they change? People in these type of positions making more people aware and making a stand. And they're trying to do that. So why financially punish them for it?
And
it doesn't make any sense.
And it diminishes those beautiful words of Carmelo Anthony. It loses the power. You're telling me, speak up, I do, and you punish me for it.
So NBA players' average salary is $6.2 million, little over $6 million.
$500, people, $500.
Yes, please.
Take him out.
No, but again, echoing the sentiment, I think we're all on the same page here, that the women did the right thing.
And if they want to continue to do it, then help them do it.
Yes.
Exactly. You're asking them to stand up, and then you're getting punished for it. So what message are we sending there? Ladies, you've been here before. You're a vet now. Claudia, Marley, what'd you think?
Love it.
New and improved, it's right here.
Yes. How was your first day?
Perfect.
It was really exciting. I think we tackled some very important topics, and obviously it's very, very special for Claudia and I to share this moment with you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Muchas gracias.
You coming back tomorrow?
Si me invitas.
Si nos invitan.
If you invite us.
They will be back tomorrow for sure. Thank you, ladies. Have a great day.
This weekend, two of the National League's best go head-to-head in Busch Stadium when the Dodgers face the Cardinals.
Seager will touch them all.
Saturday at 6 Eastern and Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Presented by Harley-Davidson.